Let's get to it. Let's talk about Tony Khan's weekend in Paris with David Zaslav. All right, I'm going to have fun with this. I'm going to try to have fun with this. But there's clearly a lot going on at Warner Brothers Discovery. A lot. Like somebody woke up yesterday morning and realized they were worth $9 billion less than they thought they were when they went to bed the night before. I kind of understand how that happens because there's such voodoo accounting that takes place in all businesses. And I'm not suggesting it's not legal. It's legal. It's called GAAP. Generally Accepted Accounting Principles is the term they use to cover their own ass to do some funky shit when it comes to accounting. Like stuff that if we did it and we went to the bank and sat down with our banker and tried to explain ourselves, they'd be closing down your checking account and taking your credit cards. But, big corporations, they get away with things that humans, regular, average people can't. But, yeah, they woke up $9 billion in the hole, 9.1 exactly, which means CNN is worth absolutely zip. What an amazing thing. It's been written. It's been documented by many others far more familiar and involved in the financial business than I ever will be or have been. But the AOL Time Warner merger has gone down, I think, as one of the most disastrous mergers in corporate history. In media mergers, it has to be and probably will be for generations to come. And it's the gift that keeps on giving. Every time that company makes a move, it gets worse. CNN used to be the leader in world cable news. Look at it now. It's a punchline. $9 billion less than they thought. Yikes. And they're suing the NBA because they didn't get the rights. Now, I don't know anything about that claim. It's too complicated. I'm not even going to try to take a position on it other than it's a hell of a move. I'm not sure what they hope to gain. I can't imagine that anybody thinks it's going to be resolved in some manner in which Warner Brothers Discovery is going to actually get the rights that they claim that they had a right to renew. Perhaps it's a play for settlement, because clearly if you're $9.1 billion in a hole and you can find yourself a legal payday, by all means, have at it. I get it. But wow, what a mess. I have contacts in the industry at very high levels, not at Warner Brothers Discovery. I want to make that clear, outside of that company, but very, very much involved in the entertainment business on the executive level, high executive level, who tell me that, in their opinion, Warner Brothers Discovery is going to be sold off in pieces. I don't know that that's true. I hope it's not. But nonetheless, that's the buzz. Hold on one second. I'm going to lose this idiot. Hold on. It's too hard for me to talk while my phone's buzzing. Drives me crazy. But despite everything that's going on or not going on with the NBA and realizing that David Zaslav realizing that he woke up in the morning and he was $9 billion in the hole, you've got AEW, who is reportedly outside of their negotiation period, meaning that they can go out and have presentations and conversations and meetings and negotiate with other parties who may be interested in carrying AEW. And that's really what I want to talk about. I found it interesting that Tony feels the need, much like Dixie Carter. I did that on purpose, but it's easy to do because there's a lot of similarities. One of which is they feel the need to negotiate and promote in social media. Nothing wrong with promoting on social media. I do it all the time. I did it this afternoon to let all of you know that I was going to be here doing a Wise Choices episode. Nothing wrong with that. But it comes to a point where some of the stuff that Tony's doing is so freaking transparent and weak. It makes him look weak. It makes his company look weak. It's a reflection of poor leadership and lack of experience. What do I mean? I mean, when you're constantly putting over the network head, in this case, David Zaslav. Oh, had a great weekend with David Zaslav in Paris. And we have such a bright future. There's Mr. Zaslav, 60 years old, wakes up in the morning. Holy crap, I'm $9 billion in a hole. What do? I'm going to go hang out with Tony Khan in Paris. That's what I'll do. But of course, Tony was trying to communicate to his audience, as small as it may be. And, I understand why. There's a collective kind of low IQ amongst the hardcore AEW audiences, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess. But Tony feels the need to create the illusion, the perception, more of an illusion than a perception at this point. Delusion might be even more appropriate, that there's some kind of, thing going on. I think the only thing that's going on between AEW and Warner Brothers, I have no inside information, but I would imagine everything at Warner Brothers is iced, including AEW in negotiations. I would imagine that there are very few, if any, decisions or commitments that are being made other than day-to-day operational ones, simply because they are $9 billion in the hole. It makes it tough. And I would imagine, I have no inside information, I want to make that clear. This is just a guess on my part, having been in the entertainment business for 30 years at a very high level, including dealing with network executives, including David Zaslav, by the way, who I produced shows for with my partner, Jason Hervey, back when Zaslav oversaw Discovery. So it's not that I'm unfamiliar with this process or the people in it, but I would imagine everything is on hold and will be TBD'd, to be determined, once the issue with NBA for sure is resolved to whatever degree it can be in the short term. And they figure out how to get out of the $9 billion ditch that they're in. But what's interesting is that Tony felt the need or the impulse, I think is probably more likely, the impulse to put this statement out that he and Zaslav were in Paris together enjoying the Olympics and talking about AEW's future. I don't know. Could happen. Could have happened. I doubt it. But it would have been meaningless under current circumstances. But the ironic part, and this is the point that I wanted to make, is if Tony Khan is indeed outside of their exclusive negotiation window, why would you grovel at the feet of a guy who's not able to make a decision about your brand or extending your agreement? If indeed that's true. Again, could be wrong. Leave some room here. It just seemed bizarre to me. It seemed like so many things that we see out of AEW, particularly Tony Khan. It just reeks of insecurity and desperation.